The small room on the spaceship felt cold. Captain Hannah Park rubbed her arms and looked out at the stars through the large window. Her ship, the Whisker, was just a tiny dot in the huge darkness of space. Most people would feel scared being so alone out here, but not Hannah. She had Jinky. As if hearing her thoughts, a silver-gray cat jumped onto the control panel. His blue eyes seemed to glow in the dim light of the cabin. "There you are," Hannah said with a smile. She ran her hand along Jinky's back, feeling the soft fur under her fingers. The cat was not just any cat. Jinky was special, changed by scientists to be smarter and heal faster than normal cats. Hannah had found him 3 years ago when the lab, where he was made, was closing down. "You should have been put in a proper home," she told him, as she often did, "not stuck on this small ship with only me for company." Jinky purred and pushed his head against her hand. He seemed to disagree. The year was 2187. Humans had moved beyond Earth to live on planets in 3 different solar systems. They had met 4 different alien groups. 3 of these meetings had gone well, with trading and sharing of knowledge. But one group, the Marylands, did not like humans much. The Marylands were tall, thin beings with smooth blue-green skin. They had lived in space for thousands of years before humans arrived. They thought humans were like noisy children who had not earned their place among the stars. Lately, they had been getting angry about humans moving into areas they said belonged to them. Hannah's job was to look at asteroids and small planets near the border of Maryland space. She was supposed to see if humans could mine them for metals and minerals. It was boring work most days, but the pay was good, and out here no one told her she couldn't keep Jinky. Today her sensors were picking up something strange. There was energy coming from a large asteroid nearby. It wasn't natural energy like heat or radiation. It looked like something made by intelligent beings. "This is odd," she said to Jinky. "There shouldn't be anything like this out here." She moved her ship closer to get better readings. As she did, her computer beeped with a warning. Something big was coming. Suddenly, the empty space above the asteroid seemed to tear open. A huge ship appeared where nothing had been before. It was at least 50 times bigger than her small research vessel. "Maryland warship," she whispered. Her heart beat faster. "They're not supposed to be in this area." She quickly tried to send a message back to the human base, but nothing happened when she pressed the button. "They're blocking us," she said. The cat sat very still now, his eyes fixed on the big ship on the screen. Hannah worked fast, saving all the sensor readings that showed the Maryland ship and the energy from the asteroid. Whatever was happening here, it was against the peace agreement between humans and Marylands. She needed to get this information back to human space. The Maryland ship turned slowly until its weapons were pointing at her. Hannah knew she couldn't fight or outrun them. Her ship was made for science, not war. "They're going to shoot us," she said. Her voice was calm even though her hands shook. "But they won't get away with it." She opened a small drawer under the main controls and took out a tiny silver device no bigger than her thumb. It was a quantum data capsule, something new the scientists had given her for emergencies. It could hold huge amounts of information in a space smaller than a coin. "Come here, Jinky," she said. The cat walked over to her, and she quickly attached the data capsule to his collar. "You're the only one who can do this," she told him. She knew it sounded crazy to talk to a cat like this, but Jinky was no ordinary cat. The scientists had done more than make him smart and quick to heal. They had also mixed in genes from animals that could find their way home over great distances. She pulled up the controls for the emergency escape pod. It was small, just big enough for some plants or small animals. It was made to save research, samples if the ship was in danger. "Find Sang-hoon," she said, putting Jinky inside the pod. "Take this to him. He'll know what to do." The cat meowed once, a sound that seemed to hold more meaning than a normal cat's cry. Hannah felt tears in her eyes as she closed the pod door. The first shots from the Maryland ship hit the Whisker then. The whole ship shook. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. A second hit tore through the ship's engine room. They were shooting. To kill, not capture. Hannah hit the launch button for the escape pod. It shot away from the dying ship, a tiny black dot against the stars. She watched it go, hoping it would get far enough away before the Marilyns noticed it. But they did notice. Through the cracking view screen of her ship, Hana saw the massive Marilyn warship turn its main gun toward the small pod carrying her only friend. A beam of bright green light shot out. "No!" she screamed. The beam hit the pod directly. There was a flash of light, and then nothing was left but floating pieces of metal. Tears ran down Hana's face. She had sent Jinky to his death. And now she would die too. At least it would be quick. But instead of finishing off her ship, the Marilyn vessel moved closer. A blue light surrounded the Whisker, holding it steady even as air leaked from its broken hull. They were going to take her prisoner. Why? Marilyns never took prisoners. As her vision began to blur from lack of oxygen, Hana's last thoughts were of Jinky. Had any part of the pod survived? Could his special healing powers save him from the cold emptiness of space? It was impossible. No creature could survive being shot by a warship's main cannon, then being thrown into the vacuum of space. She felt herself being lifted by unseen forces. The Marilyns were bringing her aboard their ship. "I'm sorry, Jinky," she whispered as darkness took her. Far away, floating among broken pieces of the escape pod, a small body drifted in space. Its fur was burned, its body broken. But deep inside cells, something was happening. Special genes turned on. Healing began very slowly. And somehow a small heart kept beating in the cold and dark. Dr. Sang-Hoon Kim stared at the message on his screen. The words did not change no matter how long he looked at them. Research vessel Whisker lost in asteroid collision. All hands presumed dead. He read it again, and again. It still made no sense. To him. Sang-Hoon worked at Earth's Orbital Defense Command, a big space station that circled the planet. His job was to make sure Earth and its colonies were safe from threats. Today, that job felt meaningless. Hana would never crash into an asteroid, he said to the empty room. She was too good a pilot. 3 years ago, Sang-Hoon and Hana had been more than colleagues. They had been in love and planning to marry. Then came the offer for her to lead deep space research missions. He had wanted her to stay, to take a safe job on Earth or the Moon. She had wanted adventure among the stars. They had both been too stubborn to change. So she left and he stayed. But he had never stopped caring for her. Sang-Hoon pulled up the report details. The crash had happened near the border of Marilyn space. There were no witnesses, no distress call, just a research ship that stopped sending signals one day. "Something is wrong with this story," he said, looking at the star map where Hana's ship had last been seen. For weeks after receiving the news, Sang-Hoon could not sleep well. He kept thinking about Hana alone in the darkness of space. Had she been scared at the end? Had she thought of him? 1 month after the Whisker was lost, Sang-Hoon was called to an emergency meeting. A civilian transport ship had arrived at Earth with heavy damage to its outer hull. During repairs, workers had found something strange. They found what? Sang-Hoon asked, not sure he had heard right. His boss, Director Yoona Yoon, looked just as confused as she repeated the message. A cat. They found a badly hurt cat hiding in the ship's cargo hold. Sang-Hoon felt his heart beat faster. What kind of cat? Silver gray with blue eyes. It had a collar with a small device attached. The collar has your name on it. Sang-Hoon was running before she finished speaking. The quarantine facility was a small white building near the docking area. 2 guards stood outside, which was unusual for a simple medical building. Inside, 3 doctors in protective suits stood around a metal table. On the table lay a cat. Its fur was patchy, with large areas of pink skin showing where it had been, burned or torn away. One leg was twisted at a bad angle. But what shocked Sang-Hoon most was that the cat was still alive. "Jinky?" he whispered, moving closer. "Is that really you?" The cat's blue eyes opened slowly. It tried to lift its head, but was too weak. "You know this animal?" one of the doctors asked. "Yes. He belonged to Captain Hana Park of the Whisker. The ship that was supposedly lost in an asteroid crash last month. The doctors looked at each other. That's impossible, one said. No animal could survive in space that long. And the injuries, it looks like it was hit by weapons fire. Sang-hoon carefully touched the cat's head. Jinky made a small sound, almost too quiet to hear. I need to see that device on his collar, Sang-hoon said. The head doctor nodded and carefully removed the small silver object from the cat's collar. It was a quantum data capsule, the newest technology for storing large amounts of information in a tiny space. Sang-hoon took the capsule to a computer terminal. When he plugged it in, the screen filled with data, sensor readings, ship logs, and finally a video message from Hana. Her face appeared on the screen. She looked worried but determined. Sang-hoon, if you're watching this, then Jinky made it back. Somehow, there's a Maryland warship in human space. They attacked me without warning when I discovered strange energy readings from an asteroid near the border. They're hiding something big, and they're willing to kill to keep it secret. She looked over her shoulder as if hearing something, then turned back to the camera. They're boarding my ship. I think they're taking me prisoner, which is strange. Marylands don't take prisoners. Find out why, and know that I never stopped. The message cut off there. Sang-hoon felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. Hana wasn't dead in an asteroid crash. She had been attacked and taken by Marylands. And somehow her cat had crossed the emptiness of space to bring this message to Earth. I need to speak to Commander Do-hyun right away, he told the doctors, and I need you to do everything you can to keep this cat alive. As Sang-hoon turned to leave, Jinky made a strange sound. The cat was trying to stand up. No, don't move, Sang-hoon said, rushing back. You're too hurt. But Jinky would not listen. With great effort, the cat pulled itself to its feet. Its legs shook badly. Blood began to seep from reopened wounds. Still, the cat took one step forward, then another, moving toward the door. What is he doing? One of the doctors asked. I think, Sang-hoon said slowly. I think he's trying to show us where to go. The head doctor shook her head. That's crazy, it's just a cat. No, Sang-hoon said. Jinky is special. Hana told me once that he was part of an experiment. They changed his genes to make him smarter, stronger, able to heal faster, and something else. He watched as the cat stumbled forward, clearly in pain but determined to move. They added genes from animals that can find their way home across great distances, birds that migrate, salmon that return to their birth rivers, sea turtles that cross oceans to lay eggs on the same beach where they were born. You're saying this cat can lead us to Captain Park? The doctor asked, not trying to hide her disbelief. I'm saying it's already done the impossible, Sang-hoon replied. It survived being shot at, then traveled through space to reach Earth. And now it wants to go somewhere else. He carefully picked up Jinky. The cat was so thin and light now. I need a star map, Sang-hoon said. A big one, on a wall or floor where he can see it. In the command center half an hour later, Jinky was placed on the floor in front of a huge map of known space. The cat was very weak now. Blood dripped from him onto the shiny floor. But when he saw the map, he began to move again. Commander Do-hyun, Choi and several other high-ranking officers watched as the injured cat dragged itself across the star map. It stopped over a section of space beyond the asteroid belt where Hana had disappeared. There's nothing there on our charts, Commander Do-hyun said. Exactly, Sang-hoon replied. So what are the Marylands hiding there? And why did they take Hana? Instead of killing her like they tried to kill Jinky? Commander Do-hyun's face grew serious. We need to find out, but we need to be careful. If the Marylands are breaking the peace agreement, we could end up in a war that humans might not win. Jinky collapsed then, too weak to stand any longer. Sang-hoon quickly picked him up. He's dying, Sang-hoon said quietly. After all he went through, to get here he's dying. The cat's blue eyes looked up at him. They seemed to say, hurry. Commander Do-hyun Choi was not a man who showed fear. Even now, looking at the evidence of Maryland ships attacking a human research vessel, his face remained calm. But his eyes told a different story. This is the third missing ship in that sector, he said. We thought the others were accidents too. Sang-hoon sat across from the commander in a small private room deep inside Earth's Orbital Defense Command. On the table between them lay the data from Hana's ship, the proof that the Marilons had broken the peace agreement. If we tell everyone about this, there will be war, Do-hyun said. A war we might not win. The Marilons have more ships, more weapons. So we do nothing? Sang-hoon asked, his voice rising. Leave Hana and who knows how many others in Maryland hands. Do-hyun shook his head. I didn't say that. I said we can't tell everyone. He leaned forward. But we can put together a small team, a team that officially doesn't exist. Hope rose in Sang-hoon's chest. A rescue mission? Yes. But if you're caught, Earth will say they know nothing about you. There will be no help, no rescue for the rescuers. I understand, Sang-hoon said without hesitation. When do we leave? Do-hyun sighed. We need more information first. We need to know what we're walking into. The door opened and a doctor walked in. She looked tired. How is Jinky? Sang-hoon asked. Alive, but barely, she said. We've done all we can for him. The damage is too severe, and there's something else strange about him. She placed a tablet on the table showing test results. His blood shows signs of quantum entanglement, she said. Do-hyun looked confused. What does that mean? Quantum entanglement is when two particles are connected so that whatever happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are, Sang-hoon explained. But it's only been done with tiny particles before, never with living things. The doctor nodded. Until now. Someone changed this cat's DNA to include quantum markers, and those markers are linked to something, or someone else. Sang-hoon's eyes widened. Hana. She must have done this. She linked Jinky to herself. That would explain how he found his way back across space, the doctor said, and how he knows where she is now. They're connected at a quantum level. Do-hyun stood up. Then we need to move quickly. If the cat dies, we lose our connection to Captain Park. Over the next 3 days, Do-hyun assembled a small team for the rescue mission. Ji-woo Lee was a small woman with short black hair and quick eyes. She could get into any secured building or ship without being seen. Min-ho Kang had once been a pirate before joining Earth's defense forces. He knew how to fly in dangerous space. Do-hyun showed them a small ship in a hidden dock. It was painted black and had no markings. This is the Shadow Step, he said. It has the best cloaking technology we have. The Marylands shouldn't be able to see it on their sensors. Should? Min-ho asked with a raised eyebrow. We've never tested it against actual Maryland sensors, Do-hyun admitted. This will be the first time. Great, Min-ho said. So we're the test pilots too. Are you in or out? Do-hyun asked. Min-ho smiled. Oh, I'm in. Just making sure we all know what we're getting into. The team spent a day loading the ship with supplies and weapons. Sang-hoon was the last to board, carrying a small container. Inside was Jinky, hooked up to machines that kept him alive. The cat was very weak now. His breathing was shallow. His once bright blue eyes were dull. I'm not sure he'll make it through the journey, the doctor warned as she checked the machines one last time. He has to, Sang-hoon said. He's our only way to find Hana. The Shadow Step left Earth's orbit quietly, with no official record of its departure. Min-ho guided it through space, heading toward the coordinates Jinky had shown them on the star map. The journey would take 2 weeks at top speed. Sang-hoon spent most of that time beside Jinky's container, talking to the cat about Hana. She never stopped loving you, you know, he told the cat on the 4th day of travel. In her last message, she was about to say she never stopped loving me, I think, but I know she loved you just as much. The cat's ear twitched, the first movement he had shown in days. Encouraged, Sang-hoon kept talking. She used to tell me about finding you in that lab, how all the other cats hid or hissed, but you walked right up to her and climbed into her pocket. Jinky's eyes opened a little. The scientists were going to put you down when the lab closed. They said you were a failed experiment because you were too attached to humans. They wanted cats that would follow orders but not need affection. The cat's tail moved slightly, but Hana knew better. She saw how smart you were, how special. She broke the rules to save you. By the 10th day of the journey, Jinky was a little stronger. He could lift his head now and his eyes followed Sang-hoon around the room. The doctor had been wrong. Instead of getting weaker, the cat was slowly improving. It's the quantum link, Jiwoo said after examining the cat. As we get closer to Hana, the connection gets stronger. It's helping him heal. On the morning of the 14th day, Minho called everyone to the bridge. Ahead of them floated a large moon. It looked natural from a distance, gray and covered in craters. There's nothing special about it on the sensors, Minho said. But our furry friend thinks otherwise. Jinky was sitting up in his container now, staring intently at the moon on the screen. His tail twitched back and forth with excitement. Minho flew the ship closer, circling the moon. At first, they saw nothing unusual. Then Jinky meowed loudly and pawed at the container glass, looking at one side of the moon. "Scan there again," Sang-hoon said. Minho did as asked. The sensor still showed nothing but rock. But when he used the ship's telescope to look closely, he saw something strange. "There's a small crack in the surface," he said. "Too straight to be natural." "Can we get closer?" Jiwoo asked. "If I do, we risk being seen," Minho warned. "Our cloaking only works at a distance." "We need to take that risk," Sang-hoon said. "Jinky is telling us Hana is there." Minho nodded and guided the ship toward the strange crack. As they got closer, they could see it was actually a door built into the moon's surface. It was huge, big enough for large ships to fly through. "The Marilyns built a base inside the moon," Do-hyun said. "That's why it doesn't show on our maps or sensors. They've been hiding in plain sight." "How do we get in?" Sang-hoon asked. Jiwoo smiled. "We wait for someone else to open the door. Then we slip in behind them." They didn't have to wait long. After a few hours, the door began to slide open. A small Maryland scout ship emerged from inside the moon. "Now's our chance," Minho said, firing up the engines. "Hold on to something." The shadow step raced toward the closing door, slipping through just before it shut. Inside was a huge open space carved out of the moon's center. Dozens of Maryland ships were docked along the walls, and floating in the middle was a large station. "There," Jiwoo said quietly. "That's where they'll be keeping prisoners." Jinky meowed loudly, his blue eyes fixed on the station. "Hana is there," Sang-hoon said, "and we're going to get her back." Docking the shadow step without being noticed was not easy. Minho had to find a dark corner of the huge cave inside the moon, where the Maryland ships couldn't see them. He finally found a spot behind some large fuel tanks. "We can hide here for now," he said, powering down the engines. "But how do we get into that station? It's floating in the middle of open space. We can't exactly walk up to the front door." Jiwoo was already studying the station through a special scope. "There," she said, pointing to a small tube that connected the station to a docking area. "That's a maintenance tunnel. Workers use it to reach the station without taking ships. We can get in that way." "And how do we avoid being seen?" Do-hyun asked. "Marilyns are nearly 8 feet tall with blue-green skin. We don't exactly blend in." Jiwoo smiled and opened a black case she had brought. Inside were 4 thin suits made of a strange, shimmering material. "Adaptive camouflage," she explained. "The suit reads the light patterns around you and copies them. Not perfect, but good enough to fool cameras in quick glances." "What about Jinky?" Sang-hoon asked, looking at the cat who was now sitting up and watching them all with bright eyes. "He'll have to stay here," Do-hyun said. Sang-hoon shook his head. "No, he's our best chance of finding Hana in that place. He can feel where she is." "He's still weak," Do-hyun argued. "And we can't put a camo suit on a cat." "I'll carry him," Sang-hoon insisted. "Inside my suit if I have to." Do-hyun started to argue more but stopped when he saw Sang-hoon's face. There would be no changing his mind. "Fine," Do-hyun sighed. "But if he makes a noise and gets us caught, I'm leaving both of you behind." Getting to the maintenance tunnel took over an hour. They had to wait for moments when no Marilyns were looking, then move quickly from one hiding spot to the next. The camo suits worked well, but moving slowly enough for them to adjust to new backgrounds was hard. Jinky rode in a small bag on Sang-hoon's back. The cat stayed very quiet, as if he understood the danger they were in. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lit only by small blue lights along the floor. The team moved in a line with Jiwoo in front, using a small device to check for security systems. "No cameras in here," she whispered. "The Marilyns probably think no one could find this place. So why bother with heavy security?" At the end of the tunnel was a door with strange symbols on it. Jiwoo studied it, then carefully pressed a few spots. The door slid open with a soft hiss. They stepped into a wide hallway. The walls were smooth and white. The floor seemed to glow, with a soft blue light. Unlike the busy dock area, this part of the station was quiet. "Which way?" Do-hyun asked. In answer, Jinky poked his head out of the bag and stared down the hallway to the right. His nose twitched as if he smelled something. "That way," Sang-hoon said. They followed the cat's directions, turning left or right whenever Jinky showed interest in a particular path. The station was huge, with many levels and sections. Sometimes they had to hide as Marilyn workers walked by, their long blue-green bodies moving with strange grace. Finally, they reached a section where the walls changed from white to dark gray. A sign in Marilyn writing hung on the wall. "Can anyone read that?" Minho whispered. Do-hyun studied it. "My Marilyn is rusty, but I think it says research section or maybe study area." Jinky became very excited now, pushing his way out of the bag and onto Sang-hoon's shoulder. The cat's eyes were fixed on a door at the end of the hall. "She's there," Sang-hoon said. "Hana is behind that door." "Wait," Jiwoo said, grabbing his arm. "We need to be careful. This could be a trap." She moved ahead and checked the door. "No alarms that I can see. But it needs a code to open." Minho grinned. "Good thing I brought this." He pulled out a small device and attached it to the door panel. Numbers began to flash on its screen. After a moment, the door unlocked with a click. "Universal codebreaker," he explained. "Works on most standard locks." "Let's go," Sang-hoon said, already moving forward with Jinky on his shoulder. The room beyond was large and circular. In the center was a round platform with several tables. On one of the tables lay a person, connected to machines by thin wires. Around the room, Marilyns in white coats moved between computer stations. "Hana," Sang-hoon whispered. At that moment, Jinky let out a loud meow. The Marilyns turned at the sound, their large eyes widening at the sight of humans in their secret station. "Run!" Do-hyun shouted. The team burst into the room, firing stun weapons at the surprised Marilyns. In the confusion, Sang-hoon raced to the table where Hana lay. She was pale and thin, but her chest moved with steady breaths. Her eyes were closed. "Hana, wake up," he said, quickly removing the wires connected to her head. "We need to go." Her eyes fluttered open. For a moment she seemed confused. Then she saw his face. "Sang-hoon?" she whispered. "Is this real?" "Yes," he said, helping her sit up. "We came to take you home." Jinky jumped from Sang-hoon's shoulder onto the table. When Hana saw the cat, tears filled her eyes. "Jinky," she gasped. "You're alive. They told me they destroyed you." The cat pressed his head against her hand, purring loudly. "He found his way back to Earth," Sang-hoon explained as he helped her stand. "Then he led us to you." Jiwoo appeared beside them. "We need to move. More Marilyns will be here soon." As they started toward the door, Hana pulled back. "Wait. The other prisoners, we can't leave them." "What other prisoners?" Do-hyun asked. Hana pointed to a door on the far side of the room. "Through there. They have dozens of humans connected to machines. They've been taking people for years." Do-hyun looked torn. Their plan had been to rescue Hana and leave quickly, but leaving other humans behind went against everything he believed in. "Show us," he finally said. Hana led them through the door into a larger room. Inside were rows of beds, each holding a sleeping human. Wires connected their heads to glowing blue machines. "What are they doing to them?" Minho asked, his voice shocked. "Studying our emotions," Hana said. "The Marilyns don't understand human feelings. They think our emotions are a kind of energy that can be used as a weapon." "A weapon?" Do-hyun repeated. Hana nodded. "They discovered that human bonds, love, friendship, loyalty, create a kind of energy they can't explain with science. They want to understand it and use it. That's why they kept showing me images of Jinky being destroyed. They wanted to study my grief." "But you didn't believe he was gone," Sang-hoon said. "No," Hana said, touching the cat's head gently. "I felt he was still alive. The quantum link we share told me he survived. We need to free these people," Jiwoo said, already moving to the nearest bed. "There's no time to disconnect them all properly," Hana warned. "If you just pull out the wires, it could damage their minds." "Then what do we do?" Minho asked. "We can't carry 30 sleeping people back to our ship." Hana thought for a moment. "The main computer. If we can send a shutdown command to all the machines at once, it should safely disconnect everyone." "Where is this computer?" Do-hyun asked. Hana pointed to a door at the back of the room. "Through there. But it will be guarded." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed on the walls. "They know we're here," Minho said. "We need to move fast." Do-hyun made a quick decision. "Jiwoo, come with me. We'll shut down the system. Minho, get Hana and Sang-hoon back to the ship. We'll meet you there." "But," Sang-hoon started to argue. "That's an order," Do-hyun said firmly. "The cat led us to Hana. Now your job is to get them both home safely." Minho pulled Sang-hoon toward the exit. "He's right. We need to go." As they ran back the way they had come, Sang-hoon held Hana's hand tightly. She carried Jinky in her other arm, the cat pressed close to her chest. Behind them they could hear shouting and the sound of stun weapons firing. Do-hyun and Jiwoo were buying them time to escape. Sang-hoon prayed they would all make it home alive. The trip back through the maintenance tunnel seemed to take forever. Red lights flashed everywhere and a loud alarm sound hurt their ears. Minho led the way with Sang-hoon helping Hana walk. She was weak after weeks of being connected to the Marilyn machines. Jinky stayed in her arms, his blue eyes watching everything. "Almost there," Minho said as they reached the end of the tunnel. "Just a little farther to the ship." When they stepped out of the tunnel, they saw that the large, open area of the moon base was now filled with running Marilyns. Some carried weapons, others were rushing to their ships. "They're getting ready to chase us," Minho said. "We need to move faster." They stayed close to the walls, trying to use their camo suits to blend in, but with so many Marilyns looking for them, it was hard to stay hidden. "There!" a Marilyn shouted, pointing at them. "The humans!" Minho pulled out his stun gun and fired, hitting the Marilyn in the chest. The tall alien fell to the ground. "Run!" Minho shouted. "Straight to the ship. Don't stop for anything." They ran as fast as they could. Sang-hoon held Hana's arm, helping her keep up. Jinky clung to her shoulder. Behind them, more Marilyns shouted and fired strange weapons that made the air crackle with blue energy. "Almost there," Sang-hoon said, seeing the shadow step hiding behind the fuel tanks ahead. Just then, a blue energy blast hit the ground near their feet. The force knocked them down. Hana cried out as Jinky fell from her arms. The cat rolled a few feet away. "Jinky," she called, reaching for him. Another energy blast hit between them. Sang-hoon pulled Hana to her feet. "We have to keep moving," he said. "Jinky will follow." They ran the last distance to the ship. Minho reached it first and opened the door. He helped Hana inside, then turned to cover Sang-hoon with his stun gun. "Where's Do-hyun and Jiwoo?" Minho asked as Sang-hoon climbed aboard. "Not here yet," Sang-hoon said, looking back toward the tunnel. "And Jinky is still out there too." Hana tried to get back out of the ship. "We have to wait for them," Minho stopped her. "We can't stay here in the open. We'll be killed." He looked at his computer display. "I'm picking up a signal from Do-hyun. They've freed the prisoners and are taking a different route back." Just then they heard a loud explosion from across the open area. One of the walls had been blown open and people began running out. The freed human prisoners. Do-hyun did it. Minho said with a smile. He's creating a distraction so we can escape. But what about Jinky? Hana asked, her voice breaking. Sang-hoon looked out at the chaos. Marilons were running everywhere, trying to catch the escaping humans. There was no sign of the small silver cat. We have to go, Minho said, closing the door. If we stay, we all die. He started the ship's engines. The shadow step lifted off from its hiding place. No, Hana cried. We can't leave him again. But Minho was already guiding the ship toward the huge door that led out of the moon base. It was starting to close as the Marilons tried to lock down the area. We'll barely make it through as it is, Minho said, pushing the engines harder. The ship raced toward the shrinking opening. Hana pressed her face to the window, tears running down her cheeks as she searched for any sign of her cat. The shadow step shot through the door just before it closed completely. One wing scraped against the edge, sending sparks flying. Then, they were out, flying away from the moon into open space. I'm sorry, Sang-hoon said, putting his arm around Hana. I'm so sorry. She didn't answer. She just stared back at the moon growing smaller behind them. We have company, Minho called from the front of the ship. 3 Maryland fighters coming up fast behind us. The ship shook as energy blasts hit their shields. Shields at 60%, Minho reported. We need to jump to light speed now or we won't make it. But Do-yoon and Ji-woo, Sang-hoon began. They have their own plan. Minho cut him off. Do-yoon's message said to go. Now. He pushed a lever forward, and stars began to stretch into lines around them as the ship prepared to jump. Just then, Hana gasped. On one of the ship's screens, a small emergency pod had appeared, launched from the moon base. The pod was sending a human distress signal. It's them, she said. Do-hyun and Ji-woo must have found an escape pod. Minho quickly changed course, moving toward the small pod. The Maryland ships fired again, hitting their rear shields. Shields at 30%, Minho said. One more hit, and we're done. The shadow. Step reached the pod and locked onto it with a tractor beam. Slowly, the pod was pulled into the ship's small cargo bay. Got them, Minho shouted, immediately turning the ship away and pushing it to light speed. The stars stretched, and then, the ship jumped forward, leaving the Maryland fighters behind. Hana and Sang-hoon ran to the cargo bay. The door of the emergency pod opened slowly. Inside were Do-hyun and Ji-woo, looking tired but alive. And sitting between them was Jinky. Jinky! Hana cried, rushing forward. The cat jumped into her arms, purring loudly. He found us as we were trying to escape, Ji-woo explained. Led us right to an emergency pod. Hana held the cat tight, burying her face in his fur. I thought I lost you again, she whispered. The other prisoners? Sang-hoon asked. Most got away in pods like ours, Do-hyun said. The Marylands were too busy to stop them all, and we planted a virus in their computer system that will keep them busy for a long time. In the ship's medical room later, Hana sat on a bed with Jinky beside her. The cat was showing signs of distress. Again. His breathing was shallow and his eyes looked dull once more. What's wrong with him? Hana asked as Sang-hoon checked the cat's vital signs. The quantum link between you two kept him alive long enough to find you, Sang-hoon explained. But it also drained his energy. And yours. The damage to his body was too severe to heal completely. Hana stroked Jinky's head gently. He crossed space for me, twice. Jinky looked up at her, his blue eyes full of the same love and trust they had always shown. He had done what he needed to do. He had found her, brought help, saved her. Now he was tired. So tired. Don't leave me, Hana whispered, drawing him close. The cat's body relaxed in her arms. His purr grew softer. Sang-hoon watched the monitors. Jinky's life signs were fading, but strangely so were Hana's. The quantum link between them was still active, still connecting them at the deepest level. Hana, Sang-hoon said with concern. Your vital signs are dropping too. She didn't seem to hear him. She was focused entirely on the cat in her arms. Tears fell from her eyes onto Jinky's silver fur. We came so far, she whispered. Don't go. A soft blue light began to glow where her tears touched the cat's fur. The light spread, surrounding both Hana and Jinky. It pulsed with each beat of their hearts, growing brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again. The others backed away, unsure what was happening. The blue light filled the room now, bright enough to make them shield their eyes. When it faded, Hana was still holding Jinky. But something had changed. The cat's eyes were open and clear again. His breathing was steady. And Hana looked stronger, too, the color back in her face. "The quantum link," Sang-hoon said in wonder. "It's not just connecting you, it's balancing you, healing you both." Hana smiled, feeling strength return to her body as Jinky sat up in her arms. "The Marilyns wanted to understand human bonds to use them as a weapon," she said. "But they never understood the most important thing." "What's that?" Do-hyun asked. "Love isn't a weapon," Hana said, looking down at the cat who had crossed the emptiness of space to find her. "It's a shield. It protects. It heals. It brings us home." Jinky purred loudly, as if agreeing. His blue eyes, now bright and full of life again, looked up at the woman who had saved him long ago. The woman he had now saved in return. They had shot the cat from orbit, and he had crawled back across stars and emptiness, just to die in her arms. But instead, they would both live.